Hi everybody, my name is Tracy and welcome back to my channel. Not a lot of people are familiar with the 8 limbs of yoga. In the western part of the hemisphere, everybody and their mama can tell you what yoga is, and they're just going to say that it's a physical exercise that is very tranquil and takes a lot of, core strength and whatever, right? Very flexible, But what a yogi's lifestyle actually entails is just so much more than just the damn postures. And I don't want to cover all 8 of them in just one 10-15 minute video. That would not be honoring what a yogi's lifestyle is. Matter of fact, some might even say it's disrespectful. All I know is that I am going to break it down in segments. Each and every limb represents and all about that. So I hope you guys enjoy this series, and yeah, let's get into it, shall we? But before I even get into the 8 limbs of yoga, I do have to give credit where it's due, and I need to mention the creator, or Patanjali. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Well, he wasn't really the creator. That's the thing, is that these 8 limbs had been long existent before he made it official. It was his texts, his scriptures that basically built the foundation of the 8 limbs, but he didn't create it. Does that make sense? And his scriptures became official 2200 years ago. So you can only imagine how ancient these 8 limbs of yoga really are. Also, it's often depicted as a tree. Notice that they chose to use the word limbs as opposed to steps, and that's because they all correlate. None is more important than the other. It's more like one cannot exist without the rest. So although although it's often depicted as a tree, the first 3 are more like on a physical aspect, so they seem more attainable. And then as we continue to go up, I guess, then they become more spiritual. So we're moving more from less animalistic and more spiritual, more divine. Okay, so the first one are the yamas, or ahimsa. By the way, I'm totally going to butcher these, so I apologize in advance. The first one is ahimsa, which is non-violence towards yourself. This goes way beyond the physical aspect. This is more than just an altercation with someone. This starts with, first and foremost, not having any violent thoughts to yourself. The opposing side of nonviolence would be kindness. You must be kind to yourself and love and accept yourself for who you are in order to be able to reflect that onto others. It's natural. I've read that we have more negative thoughts towards ourselves than positive ones, but you can tap into that. You can start becoming aware of your thoughts. Meditation helps, but you can start becoming aware of the thought patterns, and you can start to have a little bit of control and say, wow, I'm often putting myself down. I'm often calling myself ugly. I am often mean to others. Also having great compassion for all living life on this planet. Notice a pattern within yogis that a lot of them, basically all, are either vegetarian or vegan, and that's because they don't believe that they need to cause harm to another living creature, butcher an animal. They don't believe they need to do that in order to supply their body with energy. And not only that, but of course then, this entails not buying animal byproducts. Me personally, when it comes to my skin and hair products, definitely I make sure that they're all vegan from here on forward. And that's just for so many reasons. I'm mindful of the chemicals that are being used. So the more plant-based, on every level, the better. Also, gossiping is very harmful because it's still negative energy, even though this person is not around. And actually, I got to give it to my big brother for that one, because he's the one who planted that seed, And what he used to say every time someone starts talking shit about somebody else, he would just be like, you know what? That person is not present in the room to defend themselves, so I think that we should stop talking about them. And so really ever since then, even before my spiritual awakening, I've been more mindful about engaging in gossip. And I try to catch myself when I do, you know, because no one's perfect, but at least I'm trying not to be that way. The second one would be truth, or the satya. And again, this is more than just lying. This is first and foremost being authentic to yourself, acting with integrity and living your truth and in your heart's desire. Are you in the right career path? Do you honestly love what you do for a living, you know, or are you just like doing this to get a paycheck, but deep down inside you hate your job? This falls also into aligning with your intuition. Are you following your gut? Fun quick fact for you guys is that little did you know, our gut speaks louder than our brain. So that's what this gut feeling comes from, is really that message is being interpreted in your gut first, and then it signals to your brain. Are you speaking your truth? Are you letting your voice be heard, even if your voice starts to shake, but are you living your truth? The more we bottle in, the more it hides into our shadow, which is going to reflect and manifest in other ways. So it's best to just pour your heart out, speak up when you don't feel that something is right. And of course, owning up to your shit. Are you taking responsibility for your actions, or do you choose to hide and run? This is a big one. This is something that not a lot of people can admit to do. A lot of us just become embarrassed and we go into this fight or flight mode, when really it is so liberating to be able to just own your shit. You know, if you did something wrong, you admit your faults and you become liberated that way. The third one is Asteya, or non-stealing. Other than just taking someone's possessions, this includes stealing people's time, because you're not honoring, you're not valuing their time. If you're late for a meeting, or if you're late to a dinner, and you're like running an hour late, that's stealing someone's time. Also, not just someone else's, but are you honoring your own time? If you didn't even want to go to that dinner date, instead of honoring and being truthful, this kind of like pairs with truth by following your intuition. Do you guys see how it's like one kind of leads to the other? They're all connected. Not honoring your own desires and your own needs is also stealing, because you're stealing your own time. And if you didn't want to go to that dinner in the first place, instead of being truthful and saying, you know what, I think I'm just going to stay in tonight, and you force yourself to go, that's not coming from the heart. And that's not really your fault. You may have always had this people-pleasing mentality, but start to value your own time and your own needs, and you'll feel so much better once you do. Now, the fourth one is probably the most misinterpreted one of all, at least in the yamas, and that's because it's often associated with improper sex or celibacy. But really the fourth one, Brahmacharya, that one really consists more of moderation. And the reason why is because you need to find a balance, an equilibrium between what drains your energy and what gives you energy. So the reason why it's often associated with sex is because that is one of the most powerful energies that we have as a human. It is so powerful enough to create life, you know, as one of the biggest earthly desires. You know, like people say that we're really just here to procreate and survive. So the thing is that if you give into that earthly desire all the time and you act on your impulses, you're not exactly treating it as a sacred art that it is. It's a fucking cesspool out here. God gave us this gift to enjoy this physical pleasure while we're human, and so we have to treat it as such. Now, if you have a high sex drive, that's totally fine. That's cool, you know? You're not a hoe. You just like to fuck a lot. But the problem is that if you don't keep it to a moderation and you don't appreciate it whenever you have this intimate dance with someone else, then you're just depleting your own energy. What a lot of people do is you hold off on masturbation, and what you do is that you transmute that sexual energy and you can use it for creativity. That's another topic, but for now I'm just going to leave it as that. And so that's the reason why those two are often misinterpreted. Last but not least is the non-hoarding or aparigraha, and that means non-greed, non-selfishness. Basically, don't take more than what you need. That old saying, don't take more than what you need. It is terrible to have an excessive attachment to the material world. I know firsthand. Boy, do I know, because I suffered a lot every time I couldn't get that newest Michael Kors bag or the newest shoes, or, you know, it's like having this extreme attachment to your material goods and never really finding satisfaction or fulfillment, because you're just going to always want the next best thing, the newest phone or whatever the case may be. And so we're constantly in a state of suffering. When I became a minimalist, when I reduced my extreme obsession for materials, that's when I stopped feeling those low vibrations. So it includes that, or maybe a car, maybe you have a perfectly running car, but just because you've had it for a couple years and you feel like getting another one, do you really need it? No, but it's a sense of hoarding, because you're not in need of it, but yet you're going to take that anyway. Also with your land, if it's just you and one other person, why do you need a 5-6 bedroom house? It doesn't make sense. Unless, of course, in the future you plan on having a big family, then, you know, obviously by all means you're making use of that land. But if you don't and you have all this property, you're taking more than what you need. So to me, it sounded more like fundamental laws of society. If we were to generally follow these kind of rules, then I would see a society living more in harmony. I know that in indigenous cultures, if there is a member of the tribe that commits a horrific act, that motherfucker is getting kicked out of that tribe. He's not deemed to fit in a peaceful society, and so therefore they kick his ass out. That's like similar to what we do when we jail someone, but we all know that someone has been unjustly locked up. Drug dealers. So I hope you guys all enjoyed the first part of this series. There are another 7 coming, and so I can't wait to fill you in on those as well. Much love and peace. Bye.